Hey, this is Don from Padlock Technologies again with another video, another question. Now, I'm probably going to do a lab about this as well, but you know how I like to do it. I like to do theory first before we get into the lab, and because if I just go straight to lab without theory, which is the why part and why you would do something, you kind of won't understand the configuration, or the configuration will be harder and it wouldn't make sense, and you're going to ask a bunch of other questions that are going to be taken care of by the theory stuff. So that's usually how I do it: theory first and then some labbing. So what we're going to talk about today is umbrella SIG, not just DNS levels layer security, but the secure internet gateway. And we're going to talk about the flow here. Right now, if you are an umbrella customer, you kind of already have this. Hopefully you got SIG, because it's kind of no point of having just a DNS advantage, right? It's DNS layer security is cool, but SIG, which I'm going to call Secure Access Lite from now on, has a lot more features that you can take advantage of. Plus, you can kind of offload certain things like SSL decryption and all that stuff. You can kind of offload that to Umbrella or Secure Access, and then take some of that pressure off of your firewall. Then you can also integrate it with SD-WAN and have like a monitored SD-WAN. I did a video on that, but I did it with Secure Access. I am going to do a video with Umbrella, so you can see like the Umbrella tunnels being created, how you can see the static routes, the SIG routing, all that good stuff. I will do a video on that pretty soon, so stay tuned for that. So let's get to the whiteboard here, or blackboard, and let's go over some theory here. So the Umbrella SIG is the secure internet gateway, all right? So what this actually takes over is there is a product that Cisco has, and it's still out actually, but I haven't seen it in a while, so long. It's called a WSA, right? So web security appliance is what you would have on-prem. So what SIG does is it takes the DNS layer security of Umbrella, of this, and the web security features of a WSA, and then they combine them together, and that's how you get SIG. Okay, so that's basically how that works. Now, there's a lot of ways for the DNS stuff. You can do network devices. So if you do not use this thing called a virtual appliance, you can actually have the network devices forward DNS queries to Umbrella. I actually will show you that, and I believe I showed you that in one of my FTD videos, where you have your DNS policy, and then you can see your normal DNS policy, and then your Umbrella DNS policy. That's where network device comes in. Then the design that I see the most here is you have this thing called VAs, virtual appliances. Now, why would you need VAs? So you need VAs when you want to do things like, hey, you want to have certain policies based on Active Directory groups, all right? You want to do certain, well, mainly it's going to be Active Directory groups. When you want to have policies based on that, because it's going to take that mapping and a DNS query, and then it's going to send it to Umbrella. Umbrella is going to have an AD connector as well, which you'll see in the lab. Will be an AD connector where I'll have the AD connector, it will have the VAs, and now you'll see, like, I could create policies based on AD groups, right? If you're using AD. So that's the DNS layer stuff. Now, on the web stuff, you have your, SSL decryption. Now, in order to do SSL decryption, you will have to download the Umbrella root certificate, and then it has to be on every machine. Same thing with secure access. You have to download the secure access certificate, and you're gonna have to push that to every device in your network. Simple GPO will do this, but if you're using Intune, you can do it in Intune as well. And you can just push the cert, the root cert down, the RC down. All right. Now, once you have that, now you can do things. You have, certain categories you can block. Gories. You can do DLP, which you don't know. Everybody should be doing some sort of DLP. This is called data loss prevention strategy. Basically, this is like if someone's trying to send social security numbers, PII information. I just put social security because that's the main one, credit card information, stuff like that. What Umbrella will do is it will scan they will scan that traffic, see if you're sending that information out, and then it will, block it. All right, now you have to be careful when you're using DLP because certain things that are legit may get blocked. Case in point, I have seen it where like Microsoft updates for some reason were getting blocked by DLP strategy, so you got to be careful with that one. I did talk about SSL decryption there. Then you have your tenant control, which is your CASB stuff for shadow IT. You'd be surprised how many people are downloading. Actually, I'm going to put this out here, like 75% of your internal people do steal information. They download stuff, leave it on their computer, or they purposely take the stuff and on to the next. So this is where CASB comes in, especially if you have like cloud stuff. You have to be worried about that. Now, you should have some other controls, but tenant control, CASB stuff can take care of that. This is why you need to start, if you're a small business, if you're even a medium-sized to large business, you need to start incorporating these technologies in your environment. So especially shadow IT, because that does exist. You just don't know it. That's why it's called shadow IT. And, you know, CASB can take care of that. If someone's mistakenly trying to upload credit cards for some odd reason, and I've seen this like where I've seen people email this type of stuff. Now you need to have email security on top of this as well. This is just handling, there's two vectors here. There's the website and there's email, right? Those are the two attack vectors that are the biggest entry points into your network. This is handling the website. Something like CES is going to handle your email side. But let's say where I see a lot of weirdness going on is like mortgage companies. I've seen people say, hey, send me this information, just send me it. And it's not even secure method. And some people send it. Well, guess what's in there? Credit card information, social security numbers, all that type of stuff. That gets intercepted for some odd reason. You're in trouble. Now, it may be HTTPS, so it's hiding behind an SSL tunnel. So you may be protected there. But you shouldn't be uploading that stuff just randomly, right? You should have a secure way of getting that information. But DLP can actually help you stop some of this stuff. CASB, shadow IT. Then you have, what else is there? Talk about tenant control. Those are the main ones. Oh yeah, SSL decryption, offloading and stuff like that. We talked about that. So if you want to have, you know, a light SASE environment, I would go Umbrella because you don't need the stuff it's for Cisco Secure Access. Now, I did a comparison about our video about, hey, if you're an Umbrella customer, should you go to Cisco Secure Access? And I believe I've said this a million times already. Yes, even if you don't need all those features now, eventually you will need those features, and then you don't have to have a long rip and replace later when you should just went to Secure Access in the beginning, right? Now, you also can do this thing called SASE topology. Now, this is where the integration with Cisco products works extremely well. On FTDs, you can create this thing called a SASE topology, which is going to be a network tunnel in Umbrella, and then you can have your policies based on that. So you can have your web policies based on that. You can send traffic, web traffic up to Umbrella, and then from Umbrella, it'll, you know, do all the scanning, the SSL decryption, all that stuff, and you take all that pressure off of the box. So basically that box is really just a demarcation point between your network and Umbrella at that point. It's not actually sending web traffic through itself and just going to the internet. It has to go through Umbrella first, and then Umbrella will handle it. Why would you do this, or where would you do this? I would do this for things that are strictly internet, right? All right. So that means firewalls. I know I forgot the E there. You know, SD-WAN for remote sites or branch sites. Why? Because they only need internet. That's it. If you are one of these clients that have to have people coming into their network from the outside, meaning like, oh, I have to poke a hole in the firewall, give it an IP address to the domain, have, you know, someone log in from the outside. I have to give it a DNS name, so it could be, you know, FQDN, so nobody's trying to use public IP address to get there and all that good stuff. I'm going to say go to Cisco Secure Access because you can do ZTNA and all that is taken care of. You don't have to worry about too much of anything. I mean, the setup is a lot simpler there. and you have the benefit of doing ZTNA there, right? But if this is just strictly internet only, then you can get away with something like Umbrella SIG. Why? Because it's only internet, right? You just need DNS level security, or layer security, and web security. That's all you need. You don't need RAVPN as a service. You don't need ZTNA. You don't need to do site-to-site through Cisco Secure Access. You don't have to do any of that. So mainly that's what I would use that for. So that's a brief overview of Umbrella SIG. So let's talk about how traffic actually works in Umbrella SIG. So we go to the next one. So traffic flow. All right. So traffic flow in SIG. So we'll draw this big box and we'll say this is, we'll put NAT up here because ultimately everything goes through a NAT. And then we will have endpoints down here. I'll just say devices. Now, and then we'll do DNS firewall or CD firewall, cloud delivered firewall. And then we'll have the SIG function over here, or the web function. All right. So when people want to go to the internet, first things first, in Umbrella, the first thing they go to is DNS. So everybody goes to DNS here, right? Because DNS happens before the HTTP GET. So you would hit, this is where the DNS layer security comes from, because if you can block bad guys, so let's say bad guys, or bad things at the DNS layer, you don't even have to worry about going to the web layer because you're already blocking it at the DNS layer, which is DNS layer security. You can stop a lot of bad stuff happening when you do it at the DNS layer, right? And then everything else, just say, put an X for block, then everything else should go through. So now, if it passes DNS, whether it's your local and then it gets checked with Umbrella or just goes straight to Umbrella. Next, it goes to firewall. It's cloud delivered firewall. Now, this is for, and I believe I made a video about this, for non-80 443 traffic. Okay. So this is going to be like SSH, stuff like that, FTP, stuff like that. Here's the honest truth about the cloud delivered firewall in Umbrella. I've deployed this many of times, and I can tell you for a fact nobody really uses the cloud-based firewall. Why? Because they're really focused on the web function, right? Because if they got this already paired up with a firewall per se, then they're already blocking things on the firewall if it's non 80 and 443 traffic. They're already doing it there on the firewall itself. So there's no need to now do it in the cloud delivered firewall because they're already doing it somewhere else. And again, what you got to worry about is there is no static, and this is one of the gotchas here. There's no static IP address assigned in Umbrella. Now, you can, by default, now you can request it, but I've seen where that takes a very long time to get. And there's no NAT per se that you can control as the user, as the end user. You can't control it, right? So you can't do like a static one-to-one natting to say, okay, this server goes through Umbrella for this IP address. That's not going to work, right? So if you had somebody coming from the outside world for HTTPS to get to your server, but you were policy doing it, now you got to get funny with the PBR, because now you have to maybe do PBR and block certain websites or certain resources from going to Umbrella versus going out of the firewall. That's why I say internet only firewall. This works perfectly fine. If you have a combination firewall where you got people coming in from the outside and all that, it gets kind of hairy in terms of trying to get this stuff to work. But let's say it's non-80 and 443 traffic. Once that is okayed by the cloud delivered firewall, it immediately goes out to NAT, and that goes out to the internet. All right. Now, let's say if it is 80 and 443, and it passed the cloud-based firewall, the next thing it goes over is to the web function. So this is 80 and 443. So this is now where the traditional on-prem WSA functions come in. So this is where you can do decryption. This is where you can block more bad guys. But here's the deal. If you're blocking the bad guys at the DNS layer, you don't need to now make another rule that blocks the same categories of bad guys in the web layer, because you're already blocking it at the DNS. And as I said, DNS is the first thing that happens. So if DNS is the first thing that happens, well, I'm blocking it immediately there before it gets to WSA. But let's say it's like Facebook and you're allowing Facebook or social networking to go through from a DNS perspective. Well, at the web layer, you can say, I only want the 80 group marketing to get, social networks. And then everybody else, I'm gonna say everyone else, block social networks. So they don't get social network. So this is the stuff that you can do, but you need to have that AD integration. You need to have the AD connector with the VAs and all that good stuff hooked into Umbrella before you can do stuff like that. Because if you don't, well, I can't see the marketing group. I can't see the marketing AD group. I can't see, what group association a user is in. So you just got to be careful with that, right? You also can create these policies for remote clients. So Cisco has now officially got rid of the Umbrella remote client that they used to have. It used to be its own separate thing. Now they're going to use everybody has to go to secure client now and use the Umbrella module that's in there, right? You can create DNS and web policies based on remote clients. So you can have a rule for remote clients here, and you can pick the remote clients you want, or you can do the entire remote clients and say, all right, remote clients have their own web policy. So if they're in the remote clients policy, they get this. If they're in the marketing identity, they get this. And then everybody else falls down to the default. Same thing with DNS. If they're in marketing, they get this DNS. We might allow social networks, and then everybody else is just, no, you don't get social networks. Now, again, this is top down. So just like a firewall, you're looking at top down here, everything is processed like this. So your more specific rules, it's just like ACLs. You put your denies at the top and then permits at the bottom. So same thing. You put your more specific rules at the top that you want to get hit, and then everything else more generic falls down to the bottom. And then after it's okayed or blocked by the web filter, let's say if it's okay, it goes right back to NAT, gets natted out of Umbrella, and goes out to the internet. So that is Umbrella SIG theory and traffic flow in a nutshell. Again, if you are a company and you don't have DNS layer security or web-based security, you are leaving yourself open to a very bad incident, because things like command and control machines, malware, stuff like that, again, the biggest attack vectors that we've seen is still going to be web and email. Email is more of a phishing, spear phishing kind of thing. Web is kind of like drive-by downloads, or you're going to something that's going to run a piece of malware on the back end, and then now you're going to a command and control machine. And again, I only need to get one machine. That is the mindset of an attacker. I'm not trying to get every machine. I just need one. And once I get the one, I can get everything else, especially if you don't have anything behind the scenes like TrustSec or something abnormal behavior detection, anything like that. You don't have anything like that in play from a control standpoint. All I need is one. Once I get one, I can turn your entire company into a botnet, and then I can just wait and lay dormant. And then when I'm ready to attack, I just hit a little button, and now I start just siphoning information out of your network. Or I can do a denial of service attack. I can do a bunch of stuff. All I need is one. So hopefully that video was informative. Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. This is Don from Padlock Technologies. Thank you, and have a nice day.